So Ben Broussard is joining us this morning to talk about Catholic Charities of Acadiana. And when I say that, this is such a broad thing, and I wanted to have you in to talk about all of the different aspects of what you guys do and the different lives that you touch every single day in Acadiana. So, Ben, thanks for doing this.
Hey, it's a pleasure to be here.
Well, I really want to find out more. You know, we always have you in, and we get to talk to you for a few minutes because we're like focusing on one issue. And I said, you know, we need to know more about all of the different things under the umbrella.
Sure, yeah. And look, I love coming in here. We were talking before you hit record. It's always so much fun to be with you guys. It's always a smiling face. You can't tell on the radio, but you're smiling. Oh, you can tell by the laugh, you know.
The laugh comes out. That's true.
Yeah, but this is wonderful. We appreciate your partnership and how you're always willing to kind of leverage the listener base to drum up support for the things that we do.
And, you know, part of it is in news, it is always very severe, whatever we happen to be talking about. I mean, that kind of seems to be every day.
Yeah.
We have all of these stories, and there's just so much good in Acadiana.
Yeah.
And I want to tell those stories.
I love that.
Yeah. So I said, you know, Ben's got to come down here, and we have to talk a little bit more. Okay. I want to talk with you first off. Stella Morris, tell me a little bit about this center and how it operates.
Sure. Okay, so Catholic Charities of Acadiana operates, I think it's like 10 or 11 programs right now.
I was trying to write them all down yesterday.
It's true. And I'll tell you why that's a hard thing for me to figure out, at least at this point, is July 1st, 2019. We acquired several different programs that were not a part of our of our organization before. And in that, we doubled the size of our organization. We went from about 35 employees to right over 70 employees. All of these programs that we acquired, they all make sense with the heart of what we do.
That's right.
That we would care for the sacred gift of all human life, but especially the most vulnerable. And so when I think of your original question about the Stella Morris Center, this is a program that we've operated for about 10 years. It's in our St. John campus, the corner of St. John and Simcoe. If you ever driving by our place, you'll see our clients outside often. You will smell the bread because we're
right
cat a
there.
corner from the Evangeline Made bread factory. And look, on a pretty day, I tell you, you can roll your windows down and you can close your eyes and all you smell is butter. Okay?
I'll bet.
But the Stella Morris Center, this was a program that came about because of a need that we saw in the community.
Yeah.
Okay. So I think that the program started in about 2013, but before that, we realized that there was a lack of available hygiene services for people who were living on the street, for people who were experiencing homelessness. You know, there wasn't any public restrooms downtown. And I still think that there's a lack of available public, restroom facilities downtown. But there was nowhere for someone who was experiencing homelessness to take care of those basic, essential hygiene needs. You need to
think about that. We take that for granted.
Oh, of course we do.
Do
you take when you go home, you take a shower when you want to take a shower.
That's right.
Use the bathroom when you want to use the bathroom. You wake up in the morning, you're like, hey, I need to brush my teeth. Look, you walk to your sink and do that. When, for whatever reason, you are experiencing homelessness, when you are existing on the street, those things are not available to you. And so we said, listen, we've got to do something about that. And I'll tell you a story.
Yeah.
We outside the back door of St. Joseph Diner, which is right next to the Stella Morris Center, we have a dumpster, and we've got and it's about 10 yards between the diner door and the dumpster. And our director of the diner at that time, we had a kind of a different structure. We had a director. And if you've ever worked in a restaurant, you know that, especially during busy times, man, you're making constant trips out to the dumpster, throwing stuff away.
Absolutely, yeah.
And so our director at the time would walk out to the dumpster, and they'd see they'd see personal effects on the ground.
Right.
Which, if you've ever had to deal with dumpsters, there's usually you missed the dumpster.
Right.
Okay? Like you're tossing
Right.
trash, and it's like, oh, you missed. No one picked it up for whatever reason. But what they after they picked up these personal effects and they threw them in the dumpster, they'd come back out and they'd realize that there was more of them there, and it was a pair of underwear, a pair of socks, maybe a bar of soap, stuff like that. Eventually, it occurred to our employee that people were using the spigot behind the dumpster to bathe.
Yeah.
And that did not sit right with us.
Right.
At all. I mean, there's just so much risk, involved.
For everything, yes.
For anybody being on the street doing that, that's just not right. It's not. That's
in this
so
day and age, right? It doesn't need to be that way.
And so what we ended up doing was we raised some money. We had just some super community partners that stepped up and said, "Hey, this is a great idea. We want to do this." We gutted an old office, and we made it into a place where you've got 3 showers, 2 bathrooms, a waiting room, and actually a place for people to do a couple loads of laundry. And so we've been doing that 5 days a week ever since. We average about 4,600 showers per year, about 2,200 loads of laundry. Yeah, and just to know that this is all for folks who are currently experiencing homelessness and living on the street. If you're in our shelters, you've got access to these kinds of things because we've got showers back there.
Sure.
But we like to look at the Stella Maris Center as it's really a gateway into eventually becoming housed, because this is where we get to know you. This is where we get to know your name. We get to know, what your story is, where you're from. And look, data, we love data.
I would bet, right?
We keep up with the people that we serve. And it's very interesting to know that I say about 85% or more of the people that we serve are from this area.
Yeah.
So these are our neighbors.
That's right. These are people that, we may not know them necessarily, but we might know their dad or their sister.
These are our neighbors.
Yeah.
These are people often come to us and say, "Oh, y'all just taking care of people who are coming in because Lafayette's the happiest city in the world, and they're coming in here because they're getting free stuff."
We have discussed that often.
The data does not show that.
Right.
It doesn't show that. It doesn't prove that point.
Because I think people have this interpretation that, we help people so much and that more people flock in here. But in reality, with all of the different things that you guys do and other agencies, you work to try to help these people to start life over again, start a new chapter, start something different. You're not coddling people.
No.
You're just trying to help them.
No, the goal is to have somebody be self-sufficient. And if you are chronically homeless, if you find yourself in a situation where you are on the street, one of the first questions that we're going to ask you is, do you have family? And where are they? And can we help you, reestablish a connection with them so that you can have a place to go. And if that's not the case, we're going to work with you. We're going to have a caseworker do one-to-one casework with you to figure out, what are you eligible for. We have a lot of folks who are mentally ill.
Yes.
A lot of permanently disabled folks.
Yes. And, those people, there are resources for them, but they don't necessarily know.
Yeah.
And they don't know how to access it.
Absolutely.
So, gosh, and I think that's kind of the thing that people leave out of the discussion because maybe they may not even think to bring it into the discussion.
Sure. And it's easy to drive by somebody and say, man, I see that person who looks like he's homeless. If he could just get a job,
right?
That would cure all the issues. And so if you know that the vast majority of people who are existing on the street right now are severely mentally ill, usually dealing with substance abuse issues, often that came about after they became homeless,
right?
And in some way disabled. I look at those three. That's not workforce ready right there,
right? There's some
there needs to be some very intensive work done with this person, and so it like the answer to homelessness is very, very complex. And so it's not as easy. And that's why we've been dealing with the issue of homelessness.
Yeah, because you're with the different and with the different aspects of it.
Yeah.
Which I think is so great. For Catholic Charities to be able to appreciate and see all of the different aspects, because I want to ask you this question, and I'm asking you this on purpose because I can't wait to hear what your answer is going to be. And you kind of alluded to it a little bit.
Should I be scared?
No. I love you, Ben. Ben Broussard from Catholic Charities of Acadiana is who we're talking to. Define homelessness.
Wow.
Who is that homeless person?
People,
I think, like you said, they have that in their mind.
Yeah.
They're just a job away from some kind of magic.
Yeah, no, that's a great question, and I think Webster's would probably give you a different definition. I would say somebody who lacks the essential, having adequate shelter to return to. And so like somebody who's sleeping in a car, that's not adequate shelter.
No.
Somebody who's sleeping in your tool shed, behind your house, and there's no air conditioning. That's not adequate shelter.
No, it's very dangerous.
It's extremely dangerous. It's extremely dangerous. So
it's hard to quantify.
It is, but I know that in Lafayette, and especially I'm taking my own personal journey into this. I mean, I'm a guy who grew up on the south side of town. If you'd have asked me as a kid or in high school, does Lafayette have an issue with homelessness? I'd have said absolutely not, because my world existed from what I saw.
Right.
And what I saw going from home to school, back, hanging out with my friends, no way.
Right.
No way. But there's hundreds of people within Lafayette Parish who do not have adequate housing, and who are either on the street or in shelters.
And that is just the hard reality. But there's a lot of good work that's going on, and we're going to continue to talk about all of it with Ben Broussard. More coming up.